Hello crafters! This is Suzanne from A Creative Muse, and I'm here with the 12 days of Stitchmas. We're at the halfway point now. There's still a few more days of goodies to see. Remember, you can choose to stitch or not, just have lots of fun. If you missed yesterday's video, I'll link it here. Don't forget to check out Spellbinders' YouTube channel and their blog, where you can see a different crafter for each day, so you'll get lots of inspiration. Also, crafters, I did create a 12 days of Stitchmas playlist, so I'll link that here as well. Let's get into this video. Let's get started. Here with day 9 of the 12 days of Stitchmas. Let's reveal day 9. Look at this beautiful cupcake. Love. Okay, we're going to carefully reveal it. Oh, look at this, crafters. So fun, so satisfying. Here are all the fun pieces, and because the stitched elements are drop-ins, you can choose to stitch or not. So I'm going to show you 2 examples. Yay! Here are my options for the card. I'm going to stitch on this bottom part. This is actually just sprinkles, so there's no stitching here. I might put it on top of this. I'm thinking of this like figgy pudding. And then I might also layer this piece on top of that, then put it up here. So let's see how we go with the cupcake. First, I'm going to do some stitching. I'm stitching with DMC Diamant Grande. This is metallic thread. This is their double ply. So I'm going to roll off some. And this is in that white gold, I think it's called. I'm using my, I always say 9-inch Pro shears, but these are their detail scissors from Spellbinders to cut it. Great for cutting twine and thread and things like that. Here I have my needle. I will put the gauge on the screen here for you. The lower the gauge, the thicker the needle. It might be 22 as well. I have so many of these because I had to learn how to do this, like pick which one works for me. Because this is a double ply, I'm going to leave one end like this, and then the rest of it will be over here. Crafters, I zoomed the camera down. This is on teal topaz color wheel cardstock. On the back, I do have white 110-pound cardstock glued onto it, just to make this piece more sturdy, because when I stitch, I do like to pull it very taut, so the thread does not buckle, okay? I'm starting from the left bottom, going up to the left top, holding it like so. I'm going to go in a zigzag style pattern. The first couple, they will be a little bit loose, so you have to hold. So one hand is holding while the other hand is pulling. So pretty. I love this little cupcake. And this is not a lot of stitching either. You wouldn't have to hold it so firm if you're using the regular cotton DMC. But the metallic, you have to hold. You really have to hold it in place to keep it like this. So if you don't hold it in place, let me show you what it'll look like. It'll be like more loose. Like it'll start looking like so, you know, loose. I like to pull it very taut. And I'm using my dominant hand to stitch, and then the less dominant hand. So you see what I'm doing? I can pull here, and it's like all little zigzags going on here. Very easy stitching, and you can choose to stitch or not. That's fun too. With these amount of dots, you could think of this as textural detail if you did use this without stitching. It could just be textured dots, which is kind of cute as well. So lots of options with this little fun cupcake. Still pulling taut. So you see what I'm doing with my finger? I'm holding the whole thing pretty much because I don't have that much to stitch, but I do want it tight. Oh, I could make another one with this. Look how much thread I have left, but I save all this thread too. I don't throw it away. I can use it for another cupcake, another day, something fun. I could even use it for the stitching die of the month. So I always save my little stitch scraps. You see how tight I'm pulling it? But this is because I'm using a double layer of cardstock. Single layer cardstock. This will start bending, but you see how nice and tight this is? Because the color wheel cardstock is 110 pound, and then the cardstock I have underneath it is 110 pound. That's why it's so stiff and sturdy. Love that as well. Now I'm tying a knot. And I like to poke it with the needle like so coming in. It doesn't have a sharp tip, so it won't cut you. It just has a little blunt end, okay? And I'm making my little knot like so. Now to hold this in place, you can use yellow tape. I'm going to use some double-sided tape. Now, you see what I'm doing? I'm lifting up what is loose here. So I'm kind of pulling it taut, even while I'm sticking it down, and then hold the whole thing down. And on the front, it's nice and tight. Love that. And I'm going to cut off the excess, just snip off the excess. Nobody sees the back, okay? There we go. Cupcake done. Love. Okay, crafters, I zoomed the camera out. Now I have my little figgy pudding bit, and I'm going to stick this on top. I need to decide between the two. I kind of like this directly on that. I don't know why. This is truffle color wheel cardstock, alabaster, and blush. I was thinking of bringing in the pink, but I think I'm going to take it out. I'm making up my mind as I go along. I'm going to use some Barely Art glue to adhere this little figgy pudding to the cupcake base. Just a little dab of glue up this top part here will be just fine. And you can also put a little piece here too along the bottom here, just to get good adhesion. Hold your pieces together. Let me go from the back. I'm going to go from the back. If I need to go deeper, then I'll take off that double-sided tape. But I think that's pretty good right there. Oh, look how nice that is. I love this colorway, the teal with the truffle. So pretty. And then this piece, I'm going to just put it like that. I was going to put that little shadow layer, but I think the pink, I'm not feeling the pink. So I'm going to skip it. I'm going to save it for card number 2. Apply some wet glue along the edges of this to then stick it onto the figgy. I'm calling it the figgy pudding cupcake. Oh, this is so super duper duper cute. And the beauty of this particular day, day 9, this can be for birthday too. So you can use this one all year round, because right now it's just a cupcake. You could top it with anything, but we're going to top it with some holly leaves and some berries. Here you're looking at fern, pomegranate, and poppy color wheel cardstock. I also cut this piece out, which is a little leaf, and this one is in rainforest. This is a triple cluster, and then we're going to build these little berries on top of that. I'm going to start off with this big one here at the bottom, and I'm going to put the top one on last. I'm going to use my pickup tool and layer. Lots and lots of fun layering. Let me use this one. Here I am coming on with the second layer after applying some glue. And then here is the third layer. And I like to put a little glue also on those 2 pieces, because this is going to layer on top of all 3, on the other 2, I mean. So you could arrange this in any order that you wish. This could be the back and then those 2 on the top. Maybe that's how it should have been, but I'm liking it that way. I'm okay. I'm using my tweezers and I'm picking a spot. Do I want it in the center, left, right? Down here, you could do it there too, but I'm going to go over here to the right. I have decided to arrange it first with the holly leaves before I put it on top of here. That's a tip I learned from Kathy Zilski in The Weekender. Thumbs up. She creates her die cuts first before, all the layers first. Normally, I would go the other way, but this one, I think I want to see what it looks like. So I'm going to put a little bit of wet glue here along the bottom of the little holly leaf, and then put this little bit right here. Let it set for a second, and then I'm going to adhere it like so. Crafters, I'm going to use some reverse tweezers, and I don't use these often because I always use regular tweezers, but these are pretty cool. So I'm going to use my reverse tweezer here. I believe this is Spellbinders too. You see that super pointy point? You can use it when you're making flowers as well. I don't know, I normally don't have luck with reverse tweezers, but this is giving me good hold. There we go. So fun. Look at that. I didn't need to put glue all over it either. Pretty. At this point, with those holly berries, you could add glitter. You could add glossy accent. I would do that though once the card is assembled. So I'm going to put this aside to dry, and now let's create that card base. To create the card base, I'm using mint color wheel cardstock. This is treasured cardstock, glitter metallic in silver, and classic white cardstock for the cardstock base. It will be an A2 card, 4 1/4, 5 1/2 inch, okay? So I'm starting off with the mint first. I'm going to cut a piece roughly maybe 1/2 inch shorter than an A2. So instead of it being 5 1/2, I'm going to go 5 inches. And instead of 4 1/4, I'm going to go 1/2 inch less, which will be 3 3/4. Like so. I can always size it down too if I wish. So I'm using the Spellbinders guillotine for this. That's my best friend. Here is the card panel. So if I wanted it smaller, I could come in maybe 1/4 inch shorter. I think I'm going to go a little bit shorter. I'm going to come in about 1/4 inch. Here I am at 5 inch. I'm going to come down to 1/4 inch. I'm going to go 4 3/4. And coming in 1/4 inch, which will be 3 1/2. And now my panel will look like so. I'm going to do a little sidebar on this. So this is the treasured cardstock in glitter metallic. There are so many colors. These are all the little sheets that come in these packs. These are 15 sheets in a pack, 8 1/2 by 11, 5 styles, 3 sheets each. You're seeing silver here and the different styles in case you haven't seen this, but I talk about this all the time. There is glitter metallic, matte metallic, brush metallic, mirror metallic, and pearl. I'm using the glitter here. So this is specialty cardstock. And with specialty cardstock, I do like to save my scraps. I'm being real honest with you guys about that. I really stretch my scraps. If I'm saving a piece of floss here, I'm saving this for sure. From that A2, I'm going to also cut a piece 1/4 inch higher. So I'm going to now do this as 1/2 inch shorter. So from 4 1/4, I'm coming in at 3 3/4, like so. All this is good scraps. And then what's left after I cut it, that's good scraps too. Coming down again from 5 1/2 to 5 inches and cut again. For this piece now, this is where the sidebar comes in. I have this layer, right? Now underneath this, because I'm going to put this on a white card base, this is a lot of wasted space. Can't have that. But this is not something I can go in and cut out unless I'm using an X-Acto knife. So this is my little sidebar for one of my favorite die sets at Spellbinders, because I use this as a foundation die, but I also use it as my little helper with something like this. This is precision layering A2 sets A and B, 16 dies in each. I'm going to pick one of the dies in here that is smaller than this, and I'm going to cut a layer. And then I'll fill it in, because there will be a space in here, with cheaper cardstock. Not even the classic white Spellbinders color wheel cardstock. I'm talking your little 65-pound cardstock, something like that. Put that in that space. I don't think you guys have ever seen me do this. If you don't watch my channel, at least you can see this just to apply to your card making, because this is just a waste and I get another scrap. So I'm going to come in about here, which is very tight. So I'm going to come in one more. About that? No, a little bit bigger. About so. So I'm going to get that piece now as a scrap to save. This is another use of any kind of foundation die sets. Even if this was a circle, I would put a circle die in here and cut it out and then piece it back in. So the reason I need the die here, but I'm actually going to be cutting it here. What is underneath here cannot show. So that's why I have to use this as a template, because this is the smaller size. But I'm going to center it on this piece. And now we're going to die cut. Here is my Platinum 6 lilac shimmer machine that I am so matching right now. Look at the nails. Here is platform base A, B. This is the universal plate system, and I'm using cutting plates C, 2 of them. Going to lay this down here. I'm going to turn it sideways so you can get a good look. And what you want to do now is center the die. Even though the green piece is going to fit on top, you can't have it going too far off because you want it to be covered. No one will see it. This is your little hack just to save on some cardstock. Roll it on through. So now you'll end up with a beautiful frame like so. That's fun too. I'm going to put this aside because that's a good scrap. Going to take a piece of 65-pound cardstock, you see? But you do need to fill it in because if it has that little sink, it'll it just needs to be on level. Using my 9-inch pro shears, these are my best friend. This is the big brother to the one you just saw earlier, the detail scissor. And I am now going to die cut another piece and roll it on through. And then we are done with the die cutting. That was so satisfying that the nails matched the lilac shimmer machine. Okay, crafters, so at this juncture, when you're using a rectangular die like this, you could also go on top of the same green if this is all even. I could do that too, but I am going to layer this on top of this. But I just wanted to show you in my real life, this is how I stretch my cardstock, okay? This will now be covered up. I flip it over and then I use some tape and just tape it together. This is not any special tape. This is just like what you wrap gifts with. You can use 3M if you want to get fancy. This is just some little Target tape. Just any little tape just to hold it in place. I do this all the time, crafters. This is how you just stretch your supplies. And then I'm going to now adhere this onto this. See how it covers it up nicely? But I needed to have this as my reference point, not this. You could use wet glue too, but I'm going to go double-sided tape because I am sticking this on the glitter. Although this glitter works well with glue, but I'm taking that extra step by adding double-sided tape. Here I'm using a 2.5-inch quilting square to cut my double-sided tape. These are my little tips I've learned along the way. Crafters, I'm going to be using my lilac shimmer pick. Oh, that's fun. Look at that with the color. Oh, goodness. This is new at Spellbinders. It released with the 13 Days of Craftoween. Have you seen that? I will link my 13 Days of Craftoween playlist here. So that's the Halloween advent calendar, sold out. So if you wanted to get it, you could probably get it next year because I have a feeling it's going to come back. I mean, it is so popular. It was like the appetizer to the advent calendar and 12 Days of Stitchmas. Love, 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 love. I'm going to remove the little tape backing right here, and I'm going to apply some double-sided tape. I'm going through my Spellbinders foam squared adhesives. I have the 2mm foam here. That's the standard size foam. You just peel these and stick them on. They have low profile 1mm foam. I'm going to put a few here, like so. I use a lot of foam squares and foam tape, foam everything. And this is another thing that I will save on to. I'm going to cut a little piece here, like so for the top. Going to remove the tape backing and stick it here in the center. I went a little bit higher because I want the sentiment here. You could center the image all the way around, but I decided that I wanted a little something here. A little better press goodness. That's what I really want. Here I have my 8.5 by 11 white cardstock. I'm using Spellbinders 12-inch trimmer, which goes all the way out to 17.25 inch. I'm telling you, fabulous. You have legal documents that you want to cut? This will also help you with that. It has a scoring tool and a trimmer. So the trimmer is a silver one, okay? On the 8.5 inch side, I'm coming in at 4.25 inch right here. And I'm going to trim like so. Now I have two top folding 4.25, 5.5 inch A2 card bases. So I get 2 cards. I can use the second one for my second card. Now I'm bringing in my 12-inch scoreboard. Love this multi-purpose scoreboard. It's such a goodie. On the 11-inch side, I'm going to score halfway at 5.5 inch. That will create our A2 card base. I'm using my Teflon bone folder to create a nice crisp edge. I have a little bit here, so I'm going to trim that off. And I'm going to go back to the guillotine. So you see how I go from the big trimmer back to the small trimmer? Happens all the time. I love that this little one goes out to 5.5 inch so I can know what little bit I need to trim off. That much. Okay? That looks good to me. I could pop this up, but I'm going to just apply wet glue. Wet glue here in South Florida, sometimes it'll show itself, but because I have these layers, I don't think it's going to show. The humidity does such wonderful things to crafting. I went to a crop once It didn't feel humid in the crop room, but clearly it was because folks' projects, the paper started curling. Some people had to take their projects back to their room, work on it in the crop room, and then take it back up because everything was doing like this with the humidity. Center it as best as you can. I do have a little bit of wiggle. That looks pretty straight to me. I just wanted that little touch of glitter just to bring out some of the fun with the floss. I love metallic floss. For the sentiment, I'm using the Sending Joy Sentiments press plate and die. You can press or glimmer, die cut once. Sentiments include Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Season's Greetings, and Sending Joy. I'm going to be using Season's Greetings on this. I also use the coordinating die to cut out the sentiment that I press on porcelain cotton card, black better press ink, and also some extra bits in white just to pop this up because this is already popped up high. If I leave it like this, that's high and then this is flat. So I kind of like to do that type of dimensional thing. I'm going to bring on my wet glue and apply to the back of this. One of the bottom layers. I always put the sentiment on last on the top. I go like this. Hold it like so. Give it a second to dry. And then I'm going to apply wet glue here. Cotton card takes wet glue very well. Doesn't show any lines from behind or anything, so it's okay to just glue it straight on. Then I'm going to adhere this on top of this and hold for a second. I use my fingers just to shape it in place, just to make sure everything is all nice and lined up. Unless I want to stagger it for like an offset or a shadow layer. Now I can go ahead and you see how it looks different now that it's popped up a little bit. It has its own natural shadow. And I'm going to adhere it like so. Again, more wet glue. This is using Barely Art glue. I love the Barely Art glue. And I'm going to just put it here and center it. What a nice, clean, top folding card. I want to add just a little bit more fun to this, so I brought on some opal gems, bringing out my lilac shimmer pickup tool, and I'm going to put some gems on this just to add that finishing touch. I love all the different sizes with the gems. You can get this opal gem too in the crystal mix pack as well. I like this for holiday crafting actually, so I would just get a whole pack of the opal. It's great with snow scenes. Oh, just uber pretty. Super duper pretty. And then I'm going to put something up here. I want a big one in between these two little holly berries like so. Crafters, I apologize for all that horn blowing and everything you're hearing outside. It's like 5 o'clock here now and traffic outside my door, so that's why you're hearing. And it's also wet. Every vehicle passing by is like, can you please stop? But they're not stopping. I'm going to use a little small one here as well. I'm going to do a 5 here. You know the rules of the odd number. I'm going to go with an odd. That's it. I am done. So what do you think, crafters? This is such fun. You can choose to stitch or not. You can use this cupcake all year long. Day 9, winner. 2 thumbs up. Now let me show you the second card without stitching, and I'm going to also incorporate some foundation dies because I'm going to show it to you as an ornament. Love! Here is my second example. This time I made an ornament. Isn't that fun? This entire assembly will still fit on an A2. Here's another example just from my stash. So I could put it like so and have a card as well. This is the card we just made, and here it is now as an ornament. Let me show you real quick what I used for this. For these die cut layers, I'm using the Scallop and Stitch Edge Oval dies, which comes with a fun bow. And then for the sentiment, I'm using the Merry Messages press plate and die, press or glimmer, die cut once. Here I have Season's Greetings glimmered. And lastly, for this texture detail, seeing that I didn't do the stitching, but I did want something here, I used an embossing folder. This is a 3D embossing folder called Dimpled from my new collection, Texture and Foliage. This is 5.5 inch wide, 8.5 inch tall. You would use universal plate system for this. And then I finished it off with some opal gems. The glittered cardstock you see here is the same treasured cardstock antique assorted pack with the glitter metallic on the outside, having fun. And then on the back, I did put another layer so you could put a sentiment or something like that. And here I used some glitter ribbon from my stash. I just glued it in between these two pieces. And now it's a fun ornament. Okay, crafters, I think you can see that you can take the day 9 cupcake die on a journey and you can use it all year round. You can even use it on an ornament. Thumbs up. Everything will be detailed and linked below. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the continuing inspiration for all the 12 days of Stitchmas. Stay crafty, my friends.